Good morning, everyone. Despite widespread economic and political pressure, Russian President Vladimir Putin is taking the necessary steps now to let the region of Crimea rejoin the Russian Federation. Prime Minister Harper says even with the move, he believes the international community must keep the pressure up on Russia. Harper using strong language when describing the situation. The Prime Minister calls the move by Putin illegitimate, and he calls the so-called referendum in Crimea illegal, compounded by the fact the Russian military was present. Canada is joining the United States and the EU by putting sanctions on Russia aimed at isolating the country. Harper says Canada is also putting travel restrictions big time on senior political individuals in Russia and Ukraine, in Crimea specifically.
It's my strong belief that we must keep the pressure on, and we must continue to maintain sanctions and maintain putting in place strong steps to dissuade this behavior.
The so-called referendum vote in Crimea taking place last weekend with the Russian military present, 97% of people voting in favor of Crimea leaving Ukraine and joining the Russian Federation. It's now 6:04. Back here at home, a lot of political tension right now in Alberta. 2 Calgary MLAs have now defected from the Alison Redford Conservatives, choosing instead to sit as independents. The MLAs crossing the floor, happening on top of the fact Premier Redford is now doing her job under a so-called work plan given to the Premier following plummeting numbers in the polls and allegations of abusive behavior toward caucus members. Redford appears to be in relatively high spirits despite the defection. Donna Kennedy-Glans is who's leaving now. Kennedy-Glans was an associate minister representing the riding of Calgary Varsity. She says she's leaving because she doesn't like the direction the Redford Conservatives are going right now. The defection's coming up during question period as well yesterday.
I regret having to ask this question, but it must be asked. To the Premier, do you have enough support to keep governing?
Political analysts question whether or not Redford will be able to turn the ship around now after all the negative press lately. Reports are the work plan Redford is following right now includes a timeline for the Premier to improve the Conservative Party's polling numbers. A new overnight dialysis program is improving the lives of patients while they sleep. 26 Calgary-based patients are now able to undergo hemodialysis at the Foothills Hospital during an 8-hour period while they sleep. This form of dialysis is much gentler on the body compared with the express 4-hour process used during the day. Overnight hemodialysis at home has been available in Alberta for many years now, but it requires patients to undergo training and to be able to renovate their bedrooms. With it now available at the Foothills Hospital and with its slower, softer delivery process, the hope is it'll save lives.
The mortality rate at 5 years for our hemodialysis patients is approaching 50%. So despite all of the advances in technology, we really haven't improved their mortality. And by looking at expanding the dialysis time, this is one way that we hope will give them more benefit.
The slower dialysis treatment works better because it's easier on the heart, it produces fewer side effects, it can lead to improvements in blood pressure, and it also allows patients to enjoy a less restrictive diet. A fumbled attempt at stealing a Southwest Calgary ATM is leaving quite a mess in its wake. Police say someone driving a truck tried to pull an ATM machine from this Husky gas station at Richmond Road and 37th Street Southwest. The driver hooking up the machine and pulling it, dragging it through the glass, didn't get far before realizing they ultimately couldn't get inside the machine at all. The ATM was found abandoned on a street nearby here with all the cash still inside. The gas station, by the way, is fully automated, so no employees were there to see what was going on. Police are now reviewing video surveillance in hopes of catching the people involved. There you go. That's your news. 6:07, -2 at the airport.